Thanks for coming on. Andy speaking, Friday, 3rd of November. Just coming up 5 o'clock. Looking ahead to the weekend. Right. I mean, obviously there's no League 1 and League 2 this week, so I thought we'd fill a bit of time up seeing where we stand anti-post. We'll have a quick look through this and then we'll crack on. We'll talk about the Premiership and that, and obviously plenty of Scottish at the moment. Obviously, I don't know the weather situation, but as far as I'm concerned, everything's all still going to be on. Right, I just thought we'd have a quick look through. I mean, I don't normally do this sort of this early in the season, but I just thought we'd have a look and see where things are at the moment. I mean, we're only 10 games in the Prem. Arsenal, we had a point on Arsenal to win. 2 points on Arsenal top 2 finish. They're currently second. Man City and Arsenal 2 points straight forecast. They're third and second. Manchester City and Liverpool 2 points straight forecast, third and fourth. What do I think? I think there's one fly in the ointment, or potentially a fly in the ointment, and that's Tottenham. I don't think Tottenham will win. That's my honest opinion. I wouldn't rule them out finishing second, though. I do think, after 10 games, I do think we've got a fair idea of, you know, the top 4 teams are the top 4 teams this season. I don't think there's any real debate about that. Villa, I'm not so sure. I think they're good at rolling over mid-table and lower teams. Their record against... They lost at Newcastle 5-1, lost at Liverpool 3-0. They've got to go to Tottenham, Arsenal, City, and they've got to play them all at home. I mean, look, the table doesn't lie. I mean, if you ask me now who's going to be the top 6, I think it'll be the top 4, and then Aston Villa and Newcastle. I think that's the top 6. So I do think we're in with a decent shout with these, but as I say, I think Tottenham they are a fly in the ointment. There's no question. I mean, I love watching them. I think they're a brilliant side to watch. And James Maddison is just what an incredible player. And it's not just that. I think the business they've done was superb. The way they've gone about it. And I was having this conversation Wednesday with Andy, who's a Manchester United season ticket holder, and like he said to me, when you compare James Maddison to Mason Mount, the Tottenham goalie Vicario to Manchester United goalie Onana, Bissouma to Casemiro, etc., etc., all the signings, but we're look, I mean, that's the situation there anyway. I think City will probably win the league, and hopefully hopefully Arsenal finish second, so we cop on that and that. But it's still a long way to go. But I do think that those 4 sides are the best 4 sides in the division. I can't see anybody else breaking into the top 4. Newcastle, Aston Villa, I just don't see it. And it's not only that. I think it's not very often you can look at the top 4 and say, yeah, those 4 clubs play the best football in the league. And I think they do. They all play this high energy sort of front foot football. Liverpool not so much as the other 3, but I think Tottenham, Arsenal, Manchester City are fantastic to watch. And good on them. League 1... we got 3rd, 1st, 4th and 8th at the moment. Portsmouth going along nicely. They are, what are they? Let me just click on there. They're 3 points clear of Oxford. And they're 6 points clear of Bolton in 3rd. Peterborough a further point back in 4th. Blackpool are 8th on 24. Blackpool was a bit of a left field one, I said at the time. I mean, my sort of angle into Blackpool was Neil Critchley, because I felt that he'd done a decent job there, and I always knew he was a decent manager. And as I say, that Queen's Park Rangers job, anybody that manages Watford and Queen's Park Rangers, I put a line through because I don't think you can hold that against them. It's similar to managing, or it was similar to managing Chelsea, I think. I mean, look at the managers they've sacked over the years. I wouldn't pay too much attention, but I think we're in a decent position there. What do I think? I think Portsmouth are the best side in the division. I do think Bolton on their day are a very, very, very capable side. Obviously, I want Portsmouth to win it because, I mean, that would net us 30 points profit. So, but I didn't think Bolton were definitely out of it. Peterborough, I don't think are good enough. But credit to Darren Ferguson, he's got them playing really well. To win 4-2 at Blackpool the other day that's a great result. It really was. I mean, credit to Blackpool as well the other night. They were 2 down away at Fleetwood and came back. I felt that was a good performance. Right, let's move on to League Two. I think this league is clearish. I'm not going to say it's done because we're only in November, but I mean, we can get much more of a feel because we've had 16 games here compared to the Premiership. I mean, they're 5 points clear, Stockport, and it's not that, it's the form they're on. I mean, they are just hammering sides. I don't, from what I've seen, I mean, League Two's my favourite league. I'm not going to say I'm an expert or anything like that. I'd never ever say that. But I think looking at this division, I mean, I priced it up again today. I'll make Stockport 5-4, which, if you look, there is some 17-10 with Betfair Sportsbook, Paddy Power. I don't know, but I see Hills have got them at 5-4, and so have Bet Victor, and that's at what price I make Stockport. I make them 5-4. I think it's a 2-horse race between them and them and Mansfield. Mansfield are unbeaten, and as I've said plenty of times on here, I like the fact that Mansfield have played some tough sides on the road, and I know we're only in November, but anybody that sort of looks deeply into football, you have to. Don't get caught out. Like, can you remember last week when I said to you about Wimbledon against Morecambe? And I said, I think they had Wimbledon in 11-8 and Morecambe at 9-4. And I said to you that Wimbledon's best performance was a win over 15th place Walsall or something like that. And yet they were favourites, which was absolutely incredible. Considering Morecambe had, were a top 8 side. And Morecambe hosed up 4-1 at 9-4, and we were on them. And that is not me saying how brilliant everything was, etc. But what I'm saying is that don't just look at league positions ever. Go and see who that team has played. It's like Mansfield. Mansfield are 4th, okay? They're a point behind Notts County and Wrexham. But go and look how many hard matches Mansfield have played compared to them two. Mansfield have been at Notts County, Crewe, Accrington, Gillingham, home to Stockport, home to Wrexham, home to Morecambe, home to Barrow, all top 9 sides. They've hardly played. I don't think they played anyone in that bottom third, Mansfield. So when you look ahead, and you have to look ahead, you can't call it a run-in because it's not a run-in, but they've got the whole of the bottom half to play at home. Now, if you compare that with Wrexham have played 5 of the bottom half. They've played 3 of the top half at home. Can you see what I mean? There's a difference in terms of, like, yes, Wrexham are on 30 points, Mansfield are on 29, but Mansfield points have been gained at harder fixtures. It's like Notts County. Go back a month or so, I laid Notts County when I put it up on here, and we'd done a bit of an in-depth look into League Two, and I said to you that they were 5-2, which was the biggest insult I've ever seen. I mean, I'll be honest. I laid Wrexham at the start of the season, and I laid Notts County the other week when they were 5-2 because it was just a ridiculous price because they hadn't played any decent teams. And if you look now, they've played 3 of the top 6. 0-0 away at Morecambe, lost at home to Wrexham, lost at home to Mansfield. Notts County will not be winning that league. Where do I see Notts County? Probably between 5th and 9th is my honest answer. I think 3rd's up for grabs. At the moment, I'd favour Wrexham getting 3rd behind Stockport and Mansfield. But if you remember what I said to you about MK Dons, Mike Williamson's in charge now. They've won the last 2. They're 8 points behind Wrexham. That's nothing because, I mean, there's still... What do we play 46 games, don't we? There's 30 games. There's 90 points available. It's nothing. MK Dons will make a massive improvement and challenge, as I'm sure Gillingham will. I don't know the latest with Gillingham. I think Kevin Mayer, the Southend manager, has been linked. I think that will be an absolutely fantastic appointment. But anyway, coming back to this, Stockport, I think, will win the league. I've got absolutely no doubts about that. They've been poor. Gillingham, I think the new manager sorts that out. They're not out of it on 25 points. I don't think they're going to catch Stockport. Bradford, diabolical. The only thing I'll say with Bradford, I was told 2 or 3 weeks ago they had Wrexham at home, didn't they? And I said, I was told if they won that game, I think Kevin McDonald would have got the job full time. They didn't, and they've lost the last 2. Now I'm not going to say that's great, but in some ways it is, because it stops him getting the job. I didn't want him to get the job because I don't think he's good enough. And it's going to make Bradford now force them to find other alternatives. The other bet, that was an outsider, wasn't it? Doncaster 25-1. I just felt the price was too big. They've had an awful start. It's been better of late. Again, they're on 20 points. I don't see anybody beating Stockport. That's my honest take. But am I happy, okay, where we are? I think so. I think we're going along nicely there. Portsmouth, Stockport, going well. Just something about Portsmouth I can't put my finger on. I'm not 100% convinced. But let's have a look. Scotland. Championship. Now, I mean, I only put these up as like 1 point because I really felt that it was a tough championship, and I did say at the time, if one team does turn up, there'll only be one winner. They have turned up in Dundee United. I mean, look, this is a 2-horse race. Let's have it right. Dundee United are on 27 points, Wraith on 23 with a game in hand. Then we've got Partick on 16, Ayr on 13. It's a 2-horse race between Dundee United and Wraith. There's not a lot else to say. I mean, they're in awful form as well. Partick, I think, they've won one of the last 6 or 7 or something. So maybe even already teams like that have, we're not going to catch them. So but that's one of the problems you get when you get a team or 2 teams which is dominating, as we're seeing now in Dundee United and Wraith. Some of the others, well, as long as we make the playoffs and don't go down, and I hate it, but that's how it is. League One, 2 major disappointments there in Queen of the South and Alloa. Queen of the South, all of a sudden they start picking up some results, and then it just goes from bad to worse. They've lost 5 of the last 6 games. Alloa, I don't want anything more to do with them. I've viewed Alloa with Forfar as, when they both dropped down, I still felt they were decent clubs that were better than that level, but it's not proven to be the case. Hamilton, it's a 2-horse race in this division. If we look at it, we got Falkirk on 29 points, Hamilton on 27. Both of them are unbeaten. Then we've got a 10-point gap to Kelty in 3rd. It's only 2 teams that can win that league, Falkirk or Hamilton. So I'm hoping that Falkirk have their usual flaky run, and Hamilton overhaul them, but Falkirk are going well. League 2, that was, at the time. Look, this league's a heck of a lot closer. Let's have that right. You've got Peterhead first on 19 points, Forfar 8th on 8, so you've got 11 points between the top 8. That's not insurmountable not at all. I wouldn't say any team is out of this division. Particularly, Forfar I don't think are good enough. I don't think Forfar are good enough. I don't think Stranraer are good enough. Dumbarton are 2nd. They're 2 points behind Peterhead. East Fife are on 10 points and 9 points adrift. It's been better of late. They've had one defeat in the last 6 East 5. It is slowly turning round. I still think they're a top 4 side. I really do. I mean, obviously, I'd love them to win the league. 4 points at 9-1 would be most welcome. But I don't know. It's a really tough league to assess. Scottish League 2 for me, ever since Cove came up, I've really found it difficult. Cove Kelty came up, and and then went on. Both of them went on to better things. I just think that League 2's been a really tough assignment. And but I'm hopeful of Dumbarton. As I say, East 5 aren't out of it. But let's have a look at the National League stuff. Chesterfield, they're top. Oldham, majorly disappointing. I don't think Mickey Mellon's the right man for the job. Southend, it's not going to happen this season. I do think it will happen for Southend. They're a decent side. I just think once everything's sorted off the pitch, which it's getting to be that way, I think they'll be a decent side. I would want to back them next season as well, all being well. Barnet were on. They're second, and York. I mean, that's the York City. I mean, we were on this at 33-1. York. There was an absolute major gamble, but they're third from bottom, and the amount of money they've spent, and it's not happening. It just isn't happening. But again, this is another league which I think is a 2-horse race. We're 18 games in. We got Chesterfield top on 44, Barnet second on 42. Obviously, I want Barnet to win it. That would be most welcome. Reality, I do think Chesterfield will do it this year, unless they have one of their bottle it like they have done in previous seasons. But I do think that Chesterfield will do it this season. National League North, well, I mean, obviously there's Scunthorpe have still got a squad which is a top 10 National League squad, but it's stuff going on away from the club, away from the football, which is a potential problem. Chester, they're 8th, 9 points behind. Buxton are 6th, 9 points behind. Darlington are bottom. That's been unmitigated. They've been as poor as anything. So, I mean, I don't think we've sort of been in and around the wrong areas, but I do hope that Scunthorpe can sort it out. I really do, because, I mean, it's better than any team in this division. National League South, I think Yeovil will win this league, and I do. They're 6 points clear, and I'm not just saying that because they are 6 points clear. I saw them the other week. Oh, God, who was it against? Weymouth. That's who it was against. It was against Weymouth. And, like last season, I was at Havant a lot, and when Havant were up the top, looking like title challengers, I saw Yeovil against Weymouth. The gap between Yeovil now and Havant last season, when Havant were top or second, is a country mile. I can't comment on Ebbsfleet because I don't think I saw Ebbsfleet last season. I mean, obviously they routed the division, Ebbsfleet, so we knew that what a decent side they are. But Yeovil, from what I saw, they're absolutely different class. So it's not that I've gone and seen Aveley hundreds of times or Bath or whatever, but I do think that Yeovil, from what I saw, it just looks like it's crisp, it's organised, it's classy, and it's better than anything else on offer. And if this Yeovil squad was in the National League, where would they be? They'd be mid-table. They'd have to be. Eastbourne, again, that was a major gamble on Eastbourne. 20th, that's not going to come off. Bath, we had a point in at 33-1, they're third. Just dropped off a bit of late of Bath, which is a bit of a shame. Be a nice winner, wouldn't it? 33-1. Imagine if Barnet and Bath won the titles. That would be brilliant. But I don't think they will. I think Yeovil are going to win it. I really do. I put Torquay in as well because I thought they had a decent squad, but they haven't. They're not as good as what I thought. One One team that I think slipped under the radar this season is Hampton and Richmond. They've won the last 5. I do think they've got a bit of a class barrier. They've lost 5 games and 4 of them have been against the top 4. So, but I think they're doing okay. Aveley as well. I think they're going along nicely. But I mean, I spoke to somebody that saw Yeovil against Aveley, and he said there was a country mile between the two sides. So I think Yeovil are the best side in the National League South, and I do think they'll win it. So how do I see Anti-Post at the moment? I'm okay with it. I mean, we don't know, do we? I do, as I say, I think that will win. I think that will win too. But obviously I would like it to be Barnet and Bath. And I mean, hopefully they can just concentrate on the football and forget the rest. In Scotland, we're not going to have a result there. That we're in a 50-50 battle with Falkirk. They're second. They're improving. And as I say, I think we're in good position here at the moment. And in League One, they're top. And I think they'll win as well. I think Stockport will win. And as I say, I still think there's value in that because I make them 5-4, which is 1.25, and there's 1.7 available. There's still 0.45 in Stockport. Take it. If you've not backed it, go and back it. Because they're going to win this league. Well, I hope they are, because as I say, I'm massively on the red on Wrexham and Notts County, which I could trade. Well, I could have traded Wrexham. Not anymore. I could trade Notts County, and as I say, I'm happy with the positions I've taken anyway. So that's it. Let's get on. I think we'll do the Premiership. I've not wrote the Premiership out because when I went through it, there was absolutely there was one game that had a bit of value. We'll come to that, and I just thought, I'm not getting involved in this. I mean, Man City 10's on, etc. I just thought, no. Right, Premier League, Fulham, Manchester United. I'll give you that bet here. That's a members bet. We've had a point on Fulham at 23-10. That's the only members bet I'm going to give you here. I mean, reason why look, you don't need me to tell you. I think it's a shambles at Manchester United. Okay, I mean, I speak to somebody 30 odd years, season ticket holder. I'm not going to keep overanalyzing it and going on about it, because one of the questions I was asked most of in the summer was, were Manchester United, Newcastle lucky top 4 because of the rest failing? I think that's absolutely the case now. I think you've only got to look. Liverpool, Tottenham both made some adjustments. Bang, they're gone. United, I watched them last week against City. I mean, there's years between the clubs. Let's have it right. I don't care who buys Manchester United, who invests what. Manchester City get offered the minute a cream footballer wants to move. City are the first club to get offered. City are offered Declan Rice. Okay, turned it down. So that tells you straight away they think Rodri's better than Rice, and I agree with that. Okay, and I mean, if City had wanted the likes of Onana, Mason Mount, Casemiro, etc., they would be at Manchester City. But because Manchester City didn't, Manchester United and other clubs are playing second fiddle. But what do I think? I think it's going to be the last game tomorrow for Ten Hag. I really do. And as I said before, I think that's grossly unfair. And for once in my life, I had to agree with the idiots on Sky. And they're all idiots. I don't distinguish any in particular. Gary Neville I can't stick, as you know. He's the worst. But I had to agree with what he said when he said it's going to be a rinse and repeat. And it is, because Ten Hag will be sacked. And if they're going to go and bring in Zinedine Zidane, which is, oh my God, that is laughable. And people go on about he won Champions League, he had Ronaldo, Gareth Bale, Modric at his peak, Toni Kroos at his peak, Sergio Ramos, etc., etc. It was just a question of managing the egos. He didn't have to do anything else. He left it to them. Do you really think he's going to be able to manage this lot? And I totally agree with what Roy Keane said as well about stripping Bruno Fernandes of the captaincy. If you've got a captain, you're supposed to lead by example. Now, all that guy does is wave his hands around, point, wave his hands around. And I can tell you now, exclusively on here, that is why Tottenham, well, Ange, didn't want the captaincy given to Pierre Højbjerg at Tottenham, and why he didn't want Højbjerg to play, because He's got a negative posture. He doesn't smile. He points and blames others, and that's exactly what Bruno Fernandes does, and that is exactly what Ange Postecoglou didn't want to happen at Tottenham, and that's why he gave the captaincy to Son, because he's a bubbly, lively, happy character, and he's infectious, and it rubs off on the rest of the squad. And I think you've seen that with Tottenham. And Manchester United, when you got your captain waving your arms, pointing, blaming, I mean, I think he's a terrible player. No, that's wrong. I've said that. That's come out wrong. He's not a terrible player, but he is nowhere near a player that he thinks he is. I think, I mean, my stats pitch him between sort of 9th and 12th. That's the sort of club he should be at. I mean, the striker that they've got, again, he's not a top half-table striker, nor's Mount, nor's the goalie. You don't need me to tell you this. I mean, they've scored 11 goals all season. Now you look at the top 6. That's from Tottenham down to Newcastle. They've all scored a minimum of 22. Manchester United have scored 11. So the top 6 have scored at least twice as many goals as Manchester United. Fulham, I mean, I don't rate Fulham. I think Fulham are a mid-table side, but I think with a 12:30 kick-off tomorrow, I think the United players will see this as an opportunity to throw the manager under the bus and get the manager gone. But it won't work, because you can sack the manager, but then whoever comes in, I mean, say if they sack him Monday, somebody comes in next week, they're still going to be picking the same players. And I think it's harsh on the manager. I really do. And but I mean, if you, I mean, I heard he pushed very hard for the likes of Anthony, 86 million. Oh, he doesn't get into a top half of the table team. He's Crystal Palace, Wolverhampton Wanderers level, and 86 million. Shocking, isn't it? But that's it for that game. Let's not talk about it. I get fed up of talking about Manchester United, and it's I seem to attract more Manchester United fans on here than anything else, because they're always asking me questions and they always want positive answers, and you can't give people positive answers. Let's move on. Brentford, West Ham. I think that's a tough game to assess. Brentford done really well last week to beat Chelsea. I didn't see that coming. I'm not a huge fan of West Ham either. I think that's got maybe a draw. Burnley, Palace. Again, I can see that being a draw, as I can with Everton and Brighton. And that's what I mean. These games I felt were really hard to assess. There's no value. Manchester City, Bournemouth, 10's on City. Very hard game to assess. No, seriously, City. I mean, look, come on. Sheffield United, Wolves. I think Wolves will win. I quite like Gary O'Neill. Newcastle, Arsenal. That's a tough one, isn't it? I just think Arsenal probably win that, but again, there was no value. Then Sunday you got Notts Forest against Villa. I think Villa will win. Luton, Liverpool. I think Liverpool, obviously. And Monday you've got. I mean, I think again, I can't wait to see this. Watching Spurs is an absolute breath of fresh air. I loved Ange at Celtic, and he's brought that to Tottenham, and I didn't think he'd be able to. And as I say, that Pochettino's back at Tottenham Monday. I think that'd be a great game. I got a feeling it might be a draw. I do think Tottenham are the most likeliest winners. But I'm sure that Pochettino will have Chelsea revved up for this. Very tough game to assess. Right, let's move on to Scotland. Right, starting the Premiership, just the 3 games this weekend. Ross Celtic. I don't know what to make of Celtic. Look, they've won 5 from 6 on the road, drawn the other. Scored 13 goals in those 6 games, only conceded 3. They'll win. I just wouldn't be taking 2-9. You just can't. But I do think that they'll win. Kilmarnock, Motherwell, 50-25-25. There's problems at Motherwell. They have literally gone off a cliff. They've lost 5 of the last 6. They were behind against Ross last week and had to fight back. And Ross St Johnston Dundee, the worst sides in the division. You know, I mean, Killy are fifth. Beaten Rangers here, Livingston, Aberdeen. They ought to be up to beating Motherwell. There's 0.2 in it. I didn't think it was a great deal. But I did think they were the most likeliest winners. Dundee, Livingston, 9th plays 11th. Dundee won at Livingston last week, didn't they? 2-0. And that was quite a surprise. Do you know, I never fancy teams to back it up when it's quick. If this game was in February, you could, I might take a different view on it. But because it was last week, it would not surprise me if Livingston won this. I certainly wouldn't be backing Dundee at 23-20. I think that's no. Yeah, they should be favourites, but sort of 5-4. I mean, for me to back Dundee, I'd want 6-4. Really, that's a joke for price. I wouldn't back Livingston either. That's it for the Premier League. Let's move on. Right, Scottish Championship. Morton Dunfermline 40-27-33. That's tonight, so just make a note of that. Awful sides, both out of form. Dunfermline beat them a month or so ago, 3-1. So the Ton, I'm sure, will be up for revenge tonight. But I mean, there's nothing in the game. You can't really make a solid case for either of these, and the prices are awful. I just don't trust either of them. I mean, Dunfermline have scored 9 in 9. They've only shipped 10, so they're that sort of tells you they're a defensive unit. I don't think it'll be a high scoring match. It could even be a 0-0, but I don't think if I was going to have a bet here and was forced, it would be under 2.5 goals. That would be my take on it. Arbroath Partick 38-24-38. Tough game to split, and like I said earlier when I was discussing the anti-post stuff, excuse me, I just got to be a bit careful, I think, with where you go in this division at the moment, because I do think that it's a 2-horse race, and they're so far clear of the top 2. And as I say, you've got Partick in 3rd on 16, you've got Arbroath 6 on 12 points. They'll both want. They're both going to want to stay away from relegation. They're not going to win the title. They're going to get in the top 4 is the best. So, you just got to hope that they're putting it all in every week. I know we're early in the season, but the starts that Dundee United and Wraith have made have, blown the rest away. Ayr Queen's Park 42-25-33. I don't like Ayr at home. They're far better side on the road. If you look at their last 4 away games, they've won 3, drawn 1. I mean, they won here 5-2, didn't they? They won at Airdrie, won at Dunfermline, drew at Partick. That's their last 4 trips on the road. I wouldn't back Queen's Park either. I mean, they look gone to me. They've, again, another side that's gone over the cliff. Leaky as well, 22 goals in 11 games. That's worse than anybody else in the division. If I had to have a bet, it would be Ayr, but not at the price. It's far too short. Dundee United Inverness 60-22-18. Again, look, Dundee United are top. There's, they've only won 3 from 5 at home. Okay, they're unbeaten, but they've won 3, drawn 2 at home. Inverness is second from bottom. Now, since Duncan Ferguson's been there, there's been 2 wins and a draw. And they've not shipped a goal in the last 2, so things have definitely tightened up at the back. You look at the starting 11s from these 2. Well, I mean, what do you make? You make it 11-0, 10-1 in Dundee United's favour, don't you? There's 2.5 points in Inverness at 18%. I'm having a small bit on, okay, and it's not a members bet or anything like that, but I'm having a small bit on, and and it's a sort of bet where I would, I'd have £1, say, on 50p on Inverness to win and £1 Inverness double chance, something like that, because I could just see this game being a draw. As I say, Dundee United at home aren't as good as they are on the road. On the road, they've won 5, drawn 1. At home, they've won 3, drawn 2. They just seem to steamroller teams on the road. 5-0 at Partick. I mean, just incredible result. They could blitz Inverness. I mean, that's, as I say, you make a combined 11, it's 11-0, 10-1 in favour of Dundee United. But I do think that Inverness could potentially cause a shock. Wraith Airdrie, 66-24-10. Prices are right. Well, that isn't. No way. Do you know what I mean? That's a joke. I think that, Airdrie aren't very good on the road. They've only won 1 game. That was at Morton, who were bottom. Wraith are a good side. I think Wraith will win. It's up to you. There's nothing in the game. Right, it's gone to League One. Annan Kelty. This was a game that I found really tough to assess. And you might, again, you look at the table and you think, well, Annan are 9th, Kelty are 3rd. You'd have to favour Kelty. Annan have lost the last 4. I know Kelty have won 3 of the last 4. But Annan have been pretty. They've been tough to nail down at home. I certainly couldn't even think about going in on Kelty at 7-5 for an away game. No way. And I'm not going to back Annan, obviously, at 70-10. It's 0.08 in it. It's a no-bet game as far as we're concerned. No, it's just one to leave alone. Cove Hamilton, 26-25-49. There's 0.05 in Hamilton at 49%. It's not enough by a long way. If I had to have a bet here, I would bet Hamilton. Cove are in okay form. They're 5 unbeaten. They've won 2 of those. I think, again, like similar to what I said about East Fife half hour or so ago, I just think that they're starting to go the right way, Cove. I think playoffs at best, though. They're not going to get into the top. They're not going to win the league. They're too far away. Edinburgh Montrose, 24-26-50. I'm told Montrose will win tomorrow. Odds on, though, not for me. I don't think they should be odds on. Edinburgh got a result last week against Annan, but I wouldn't be taking 10-11. I'd want 11-10 minimum. I don't know, we might get that come post time. Queen of the South, Falkirk, 16-25-59. Again, another. I mean, just look at this division. You got 0.08, 0.05, 0.05, nothing there, nothing there. It's a worst League One coupon, isn't it? It's an awful coupon. 2's on Falkirk, not for me. Should be 7-10 minimum. Queen of the South, and this is when we've got the FA Cup in England and League One and League Two. They tighten this up, and they've tightened this up massively this week. Major. I mean, look at that. That's joker prices. Falkirk should win, but I wouldn't discount Queen of the South. I'd never discount Queen of the South because they're a capable team, but they just hardly ever show it. Stirling Alloa, 48-26-26. If I was going to bet, I'd bet Stirling. I don't like Alloa. 0.05. Again, there's just not enough in it, is there? What would you want? You'd want 5-4, wouldn't you? 11-8, really, if you're going to consider backing Stirling. We're not going to get that. Alloa, I just don't like Alloa. Simple as that. Let's move on to League Two. Right, League Two, Clyde Spartans, 23-25-52. I think Spartans should be 10-11. They're as short as 5-6. It's too short. I think they'll win, but I don't think they should be 5-6. Dumbarton Bonnyrigg, 52-24-24. Again, nothing there. Again, Dumbarton odds on, I totally agree with. Don't think they should be as short as 4-5, but I do think they're the most likeliest winners. Forfar Stenhousemuir, 27-25-48. Steny are much better on the road. They've won 3, drawn 2. They've only won once at home, but they're better on the road, Steny, just like Peterhead. I think they should be shorter than 11-8. I don't like Forfar. 1 win in 9, 8 goals scored. No. Steny are up to winning this. Peterhead East 5, 50, 25, 25. Now, this is one of those games where you think people will look at this and say, first at home to 7th. Why do you think they should be evens? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Peterhead at home have won 2 from 4. Away from home, they've won 4 from 5. You find a lot of clubs at this level, not lots of clubs, but some clubs perform better on the road. Peterhead are doing that, and that is why I would not be taking odds on. And as I say, East 5 have had 1 defeat in 6. That was 1-0 at Dumbarton, and that was an unlucky 1-0. I don't think East 5 are out of this, but again, there's nothing in it. But they're not. That's not odds on. Stranraer Elgin 55, 25, 20. I mean, they've lost the last 5, Stranraer. But Elgin are so poor, they've won 1 game all season, scored 7 goals. That's what pushes Stranraer into being odds on. It's a tad frustrating, isn't it? Right, let's do the double. Right, quickly on to the double. Liverpool and Wraith. 1 point, 1.04 to 1 with Bet UK. Stockport Rangers double won last week. 0.77. And as I did say when someone said to me, they did message before I put this up actually, and they said about, I said it was going to be 5-4. It's not 5-4. That was 5-4. That was under. But then we've had stuff. Look, that's almost 2-1. So it swings and roundabouts. You can't. It doesn't religiously go win lose, and everything's at 5-4. You've got to add it up and take it overall. So last 2-1. Fingers crossed we can make it 3 on the spin. Treble. It was tough this week, I have to say. Right, Liverpool, Wraith and Braintree. 3.18 to 1 with Betway. So that's over 3 to 1. Braintree are at home to Havant. Liverpool are at Luton, Wraith are at home to Airdrie, and Braintree are at home to Havant. My side, Havant are absolutely bloody useless. That's not to say they can't dig a result out tomorrow, but I don't think they will. But I was struggling for a third. I have to be honest. I didn't like Liverpool at 1-4. It was 1-4 is okay in a treble if you've got something else to, pad it out a bit, and that has brought it up from 1.04. So that's brought it up from just over evens to 3 to 1 by adding Braintree into it. But it was a struggle. I mean, it was. I could have easily gone in there and put Man City in, but what's the point? It's. I do think Braintree will beat Havant, actually. I do. But that's it, guys. It's not the best week. I thought Scotland was okay. I don't like the Premier League. As I say, I thought the best bet there was Fulham at the prices. It's not to say Fulham are going to win. I thought they were the best bet at the prices. So we shall see how that unfolds. And fingers crossed the members' bets go well, and fingers crossed the double and the treble coming. Now I think we got some football midweek, so I'll stick it on Twitter if we've got anything. And one other thing I meant to say, I've had a system which was sent to me, very old system. I'm not a huge person. I don't like systems and software, but someone sent me this system, very, very logical. Had a 53% strike rate, a shade under 2 to 1 last season. I thought that was good. It was around 15 to 8. It's a system where you find one winner and you find another 4 teams that won't lose. So you have one side that's going to win, and you do the other 4 sides in a double chance. And some weeks you can have, it can end up being 4-6. Other weeks it can be 5-1, stuff like that. But I'm not gonna pass the system on because I was asked not to. I was asked not to reveal the system, but the person that sent it to me said, please, by all means, put the bets up. But the system was actually released in 1991, so it's very old, and it's a good read. I've not seen it before. That was the sort of time I started. So, but I don't know whether it was advertised in newspapers or anything like that. The chap that sent it to me, Colin, has had it years, and he still follows it to this day. And like he said, it does okay. So, and you know, if someone says to me, "Oh, 50% strike rate, 15-8," I'm very, very interested. So we might start following the bets on that on here, and see how it goes. As I say, it's basically you're looking for one banker and then 4 other teams not to lose. So we'll see how that goes, and as I say, we might put it on here. But that's it for this weekend, guys. Check Twitter to see if there's anything midweek. Have a good weekend. Bye for now.